So RAS Parallel, what is it? Who's it for? All that good stuff. So I'm going to give you guys a kind of a highlight documentation, what it is, what it does, who's it for. I just said that. Some of the features, some of the things that I see some admins struggle with, and other products that I think this product's really good for.
You should
So
have control of yourself.
yeah.
There you go.
All right, so here's the RAS architecture, right? So as you can tell, they have a lot of ports, right? So they have a client that gets installed on the client's end, mobile, PC, HTML. Um, they talk to what's called a HALB. It's a built-in HA load balancer, right? It's not a NetScaler, but it is their own load balancing appliance. And then that kind of goes into the secure gateway. You can think of the secure gateway like a front end. Um, Storefront or another unified gateway type setup for another vendor. But you kind of got the same architecture, right? You got your brokers, you got your performance monitor, you got your RAS reporting, you got your RAS console, ties into Active Directory. It does SAML, which is your enrollment servers that do the certificate virtual smart card access. It supports RDSH host pools. It supports remote PC. It supports virtual desktops, apps, um, and AVD. As you can see at the bottom, they're very hypervisor agnostic. So they tie into numerous of hypervisors, Azure, AVD, VMware, AHV, Hypercore, Hyper-V, and Amazon. Um, so it's got a good port structure. Everything works pretty great. It's a wonderful solution. Um, Move to the next slide. So here's some of the highlights that I like about RAS. This is just want to go over a couple highlights, kind of give you guys like a bird's eye view. So one of the things I like about the console is every time you deploy something on the console, right? It's you get an overview of what's going on in the console from everywhere. So like this is your interface. All your settings are within this interface. You can see it real time with your CPU, RAM, disk read, write time, how many sessions are on, right? So this is just kind of like an overview section of each component, what's going on, when it's going on. So like for here, for example, I got a couple RDS hosts. I got my secure gateways, which is my user access layer, my access layer. I got my connection brokers, which is my control layer, right? So it uses the term host pools, right? You got VDI host pools, you got RDS session host pools, you got AVD host pools. So it uses that mindset. One of the things that I like about RAS, right, is that we all know that there's only a couple profile vendors out there, right? A lot of people use FS Logics, a lot of people use Citrix profile containers, right? So RAS integrated FS Logics within their host pool properties, their template properties. So when you're going through and you're deploying, you create a template, and you're deploying a host pool, right? It can actually go out there and it does a check on the agent while the agent's being installed or while after it's installed. And what it does, it'll literally go in there and say, hey, do you got FS Logics? No, I don't. I'm going to go ahead and install it for you. And then it goes through a native wizard, like you can see here, where it tells you, hey, pick your profile technology, and there's only two, FS Logics and user profile disk, which was, I guess, the first iteration back in early on with the VHD type technology. But needless to say, you can go into the configuration side and you can set anything you can set in group policy, you can do within here. So, your VHD location, your cloud tech locations, your shrink on demand, multiple OST, deduplication, user profile set, all these pieces you define in here, and it just writes those reg values to the host pool when it spins the device up. So here's another one that I like. So RAS also provides great user metrics. They actually do a really, really good job of getting me the data that I really need for the user. So this was a session that I was kind of doing like a triple hop scenario. I was connecting in to a Windows W365 cloud PC, and then I was connecting into our lab, and then I was launching a session through the RAS console or the RAS applications. Um, so I was just kind of just testing the limits. But what you can see here is it grabbed my gateway type, right? It graphed my UDP, my latency, my total bandwidth, which obviously is wasn't good, but it was more of a simulation. My OS. One of the things I like the most about this is kind of gives me my screen resolution, right? My color depth. You can see all the native stuff you normally see, like how long it took for group policy load time, user profile load time, desktop load time, things of that kind of nature. Um, Here is more of the RAS offers. Not only did they have like the user level monitoring and reporting within the same console, they also monitor the infrastructure. So they give you the performance counters on the CPU, the memory, the disk. It shows you who hit what gateway. You can run custom scripts to get custom metrics. It can give you a number of RDS sessions that users connect to, how many disconnected sessions, what is your average session utilization, what was your average disconnected session utilization, for example. Um, this is kind of a feature that I like because like it could tell me, how many uh, folks have actually hit this gateway versus this gateway. And then it actually say, okay, well, so and so hit this gateway, but it looks like the session that tunneled failed. So you can kind of see proactively what's going on with this type of setup. One of the things I like the most about it, it has a lot of reports in here. I mean, there's reports in here that gets extremely deep in what it's trying to find for you. Again, it's all built into the console. So you got the performance monitor piece that installs on a SQL database, right? That wraps in here, and then you have the reporting services, or excuse me, I had it backwards. Reporting services installs in a SQL database, but the performance monitor piece, it actually uses the Influx database and the Grafana dashboard, right? So they integrate it all within one area. So you're not having to go to this URL, you're not having to go to this product. It's all within like five or clicks, 6 clicks down. You can export reports. It also gives you a server health report, an inventory type, as you can see here, like here's a quick check where I'm like, okay, well, let me see what's going on in my environment. Let me get like the Windows OS, the boot time, things like that. So it gets way deeper in this, but this is kind of just to give you a highlight of what's going on. You can see here that these are my brokers. This is my hypervisor, right, which is called providers. This is my ES agent, which is my enrollment server, and here's my RDS session host. So you can kind of see some of these reports. Again, from the infrastructure side. So you got, CPU, and then these charts that I got grayed out, obviously, are what's using the most CPU in my environment. Not only is this, remote RDSH, VDI, AVD, this is actually the server infrastructure as well. So it keeps a bird's eye view on everything that's going on. It's just a click away. As you can see in the monitoring session, it's like 5 or 6 tabs down. Same thing with free memory, same thing with disk usage, network usage. System information tells you what processes are using what the resources are. Um, so the protocol, so RAS just piggybacks off of RDP. Uh, Nothing special, but they give you the controls within the console to control if you want to use TCP, UDP, right? AVD uses UDP short path. So they give you the option to do, hey, you want to use UDP? All right, you just click a policy, right? Which is literally drop, right click, properties, check the box, as you can see at the top piece, right? Um, the AVD short path, it's pretty much a similar setup, right? And within the RAS console, they make it all easy to dive in and to check boxes and to set limits. You can say, hey, I want to set this for this host pool to use UDP, right? I don't know. You got somebody coming through a secure gateway. They're having some MTU fragments going on. You can create a policy. You can say, hey, turn this off for this user coming through the gateway. I mean, it's that granular. You can get really granular with it, and it's super simple. Um, so as you guys know, it uses the RDP protocol. It piggybacks off all the Microsoft policies. So a lot of people say that remote FX is dead. That may be the case for GPU, but all the other settings, that's not the case. So that's what Microsoft uses to control all these pieces like client redirection, bandwidth policies, printer policies, all that good stuff. But the thing is here, you don't have to go and control that in group policy anymore. You can go into the RAS console and define all that. So it's natively, it integrates where other products, like you got their GPO stuff, you got to set for certain things, right? And then you go into the EUC provider and you got to tune stuff. So you can do everything from an EUC perspective here to control the environment. And then obviously, if you have specific apps, things like that, that's for applications you would do in group policy. But I like to keep it simple, so I kind of like to use the one policy mindset if possible. It's not always the case. Um, so Parallels operating system, Tim. So this is a common thing that I have a conversation with anybody within the EUC stack tuning. Some people can say, "Oh, we don't do that anymore. It's 2024. We're not using T1s." I'm not talking about that kind of tuning. I'm not talking about bandwidth tuning. I'm talking about OS tuning. You know, reducing the unnecessary scheduled tasks, reducing unnecessary processes, the UWP apps, anything that you don't need that can create a security risk or create some kind of honeypot that anything can tie off of. So within the RAS template scenario, you'll notice that when you go to create your host pool off your template, right? It'll go through a series. There's a tab that says, "Hey, system optimization." So you'll get all these different components that you can go through and tweak and remove. Now you got to go through each one and read, right? So like you can see here where it's disabling SMB protocol one, media playback, for example. On another side, you'll see I can go in here and I can disable the hibernate. I can disable telemetry, disable system restore. Some of the things that you would normally do in a non-persistent image anyway, right? Disable Cortana. Um, Here's a more of a network performance tuning. Like some of these you may notice back in the PVS days where it's disabled TCP IP task offload, and all the other network tuning aspects you may disable IPv6, right? Um, you got the disk cleanup utility. There's like over 170 something optimizations in here you can do. And also you got your own custom optimizations, not a problem. You just right click and you import and you can run a series of their optimizations with your optimizations. Now, as always, make sure you know what optimizations you're running, um, because it can wreak havoc if you don't know exactly what you're turning off. But the whole goal is um, tuning the OS is important. Those who say it is not important, it's a conversation for another day, but in the EUC space, it's something we have to do. We just have to do it, especially with the Windows 11 and then the newer operating systems coming out. It's just a must. So a lot of these products, like RAS, like Citrix, like Horizon or Omnis, are doing these kind of pieces because they know it's a necessity. Um, More, you can import registry operations like what was that one Oz where we had to put in for H key current? The serialized key. Like you can throw all those little pieces in there. You can put stuff in the default user profile, things like that that you keep out of group policy. You put in here to keep your GPP processing down, things like that. More scheduled task optimization, but you can see you get the idea. There's tons of stuff in here. So I'm running out of time. I know I'm way over. Sorry, guys. Let me
Yeah,
try
go.
to.
You're
So
fine.
quick, real quick, provisioning options, right? So RAS kind of follows like the Nerdio concept as far as how they do things. And I really say it's Nerdio concept. It's really just the link clones, full clones, right? And you got versioning. So you got what RAS uses what's called RAS templates, and what that is it's using the hypervising cloning mechanism that it offers. So it's not that it's using like its template process. RAS is going in there. You define which one is your clone or your golden image or your template. It goes through. It does all the necessary bits and pieces for you. It goes through a wizard, all that good stuff. Um, when you go to deploy that, right, you can go through what's called a test template phase. A test template phase actually checks the DNS, checks the IP settings, checks the OU, checks the domain join, and it can go through a simulation of a launching an application for you to make sure, hey, when you get ready to push this out, it's actually going to work what it's intended. Versioning, as you all know, it has an option to do versioning. You can create different versions with different OS installs, or excuse me, different application installs. You can take that version, you can push that version out. You can do it now. You can schedule it for later. Many options there. Link clones, full clones, same kind of concept. Link clones is a golden image where you got non-persistent disk that spin off of it, faster reboot time, faster application time, as far as a faster recovery time when things need to happen. It may not be a best fit for everybody. Full clones is dedicated full clones as far as, I got a 120 gig disk. I'm pushing out the 120 gig disk. I got each machine's independent. Um, and auto scale, right? So auto scale, same thing. You got an interface where you do auto scale. You can burst up, burst down. You can say, hey, at this threshold, I need you to create four more machines. Hey, at this time, come down. You can do schedulers and say, hey, at nighttime, I need you to reboot these machines. Oh, and I need you to also say, hey, I need you to blow the machines away, and I want to do a reimaging process, which is a non-persistent type function. ADD, right? So this is an architectural diagram that shows how RAS ties into AVD, and I'm gonna go through this first pretty quick. So you set up what's called an AVD provider, which is basically tied into the hypervisor. You define your tenant subscription application, that good stuff like that. You go and create a host pool. This is all within the RAS console. You create a host pool. It talks to the AVD side. It goes through and it says, okay, well, now I'll create a new workspace so your users can access that workspace. It gives you an idea of what do you want to do? You want to do pooled? You want to do desktop? You want to do breadth first, depth first? How many sessions? So on and so on. It goes through the process. You select your OS from the image gallery, template name, how many hosts you want, what's the name as far as what do you want to call it. Then it gives you like an overview as far as the disks, the specifications, disk type, resource group. And there's what's called RAS prep and sys prep. So RAS prep and sys prep, RAS prep is its own unique sys prep mechanism that does similar as sys prep, but at a much faster rate. And it seems the same job, does the same job as sys prep. So it's just a faster operation. I usually like to do that. As you can see on the back end, this is what it does. It creates your host pool for you, right? It creates your application group and it creates your workspace. So it does it all for you, and you don't have to go mess with this. You just maintain everything from within here.
Yep.
All right, so who's RAS for, who's it not for? So it's for people that who have a minimum requirement of 15 users who want to do a 1 year subscription or a 3 year term who have a small footprint to say, hey, you know, we got 100 users. We want to purchase this. Okay, cool. RAS offers that. The architecture is really easy. It's a right-click deploy mindset. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to deploy a RAS environment. It's not really hard at all. Everything's done from the console. Literally, when I say the console, it's literally once you get one of the brokers integrated, the rest is just right-click, add, deploy. Um, Organizations who have on-prem and they have hybrid cloud like AWS or AVD, for example, it supports both those scenarios. The licensing is all inclusive. There's no hidden. It's you buy it, it's concurrent. This is what you get. There's no extra stuff you have to purchase. It's kind of like, hey, you buy this, you get all these pieces with it. Um, who's it not for? So if you're heavy on UCC communication tools, it's probably not the best for you. And it's not that RAS can't do it. It can do it, but it's not the focus right now. So like it can do Zoom and they use what's called like a BCR, which but it's URL redirection for Teams. However, it's not the main focus. The main focus for RAS is defining virtual apps and desktops to the users for a remote workforce. They don't have a PaaS solution, right? They offer a DaaS solution, but you have to have an Azure setup. You have to have it fully integrated in Azure. Some customers don't want that. They don't have that. So, and it's not for Enter ID joined only, nor does it do hybrid ID join. It's possible. However, it's not natively integrated. So that's probably where it probably wouldn't be right for you. Um, it's a best fit, small, medium, and large customers. Looking for a simple solution just to deliver remote desktops apps. One-click interface, built-in reporting, everything into one interface. Low cost optimization, low cost for users, a VDI, a application solution for remote workers. I mean, that's it's a really good product. Um, and so with that,
Right.
RAS is waiting for you.